What can you do to cope with the grief and loneliness the death of a loved one brings? How can you bear to walk into the house again, to prepare a meal knowing they won't be there, to open a wardrobe or see an empty chair, without breaking down and sobbing your heart out? How do you bear the nights, let alone the days? And how do you come to terms with the inevitable anger? Is there no justice in life? How can there be a providential power or God that permits such pain and misery? First, let me speak to those of you who are not suffering at this moment from the loss of someone you love. The way to protect yourself from future grief is to start now, today, taking responsibility for life. We are all taking responsibility for living, but not for life. We work and earn money to support the people we love most, or look after them by keeping a home. We love them, help them and guide them as best we can towards the future which we hope will be good and long. All that is taking responsibility for living. Taking out a life insurance policy on yourself for £50,000 is not taking responsibility for life. That's taking more responsibility for living. That insurance policy and all the love and care you give your children and loved ones is not going to ease in the slightest the agony they will go through when you die, or that you will go through when they die. So how do you take responsibility for life? You quit living off your imagination. You realize the truth of what I am saying. Every day, every moment, you face the fact of life, and not just the insurance policy idea of loving and living. The fact of life is death, that your beloved child, husband, wife, lover, mum and dad, every person you cherish is going to die. You think you already know that? That you've already faced up to this? When the death of your dearest comes, it's going to stun you, bowl you over. You're not going to be ready, are you? If you'd already faced the fact of life, you'd be ready, and death would be powerless to crucify you. But when it comes, you're going to go through all the agony I just described. Just like everyone before you, because everyone imagines, when it's not true, that they've already faced up to death. If one of your loved ones dies in 10 years' time, it will be just as terrible as if it happened now, won't it? 10 years' time, 10 years ago, is today. If it happened today to your dearest, are you any better prepared? The truth is, you don't believe in death. Death is something that happens to someone up the street. When death comes to the one you love most, you're going to blame some fate or other. You're going to react as though you'd been misled, as though it were news to you that this is a world of death. In short, you're going to act irresponsibly, immaturely, as though you didn't know what life's about because you thought it was about living. Life is about learning to live with death. When death hits you, you understand that. But the people in society around you, by offering sympathy and no solutions, will help you to forget the lesson and to go on living in hope. And so you'll suffer again and again, each time it happens to someone you love, as will your children after you, and theirs after them and the others you love. because none had the time or sufficient love to face the truth. Since you were a child and asked your first question about death, life has been trying to show you that this is a world of death. But it can't get through the power of your imagination, the neurosis, that tells you it's a world of hope. There's no hope in this world. The only hope is to see that. Certainly, behind this world is the immortal world of life after death, immortal like the sparrows that are always here. But until you realize that each sparrow dies, that each beloved pet you once wept over as a child is no different to the person you love most now, you can't share in that immortal life that knows no separation in death, and therefore does not need to mourn. Taking responsibility for life also means taking responsibility for the ones you love. Again, you are not taking this responsibility. You're doing your best, particularly with your children, but your best is not good enough. And what are you doing for the adults you love? To be responsible is to see that all the ones you love start talking openly about death and understanding death. That is true love. For if you truly love them, could you leave them with the agony of your death, which they will otherwise have to endure? Talk together of the reality of death as I am talking to you now. Don't let death surprise them. Introduce it to the family. Talk regularly. Let them no longer hide from it. Listen to what I am saying as often as you can until you get the idea. Listen together until you can start to talk openly and intelligently. What if someone won't listen? Very few want to listen. To reach them is love's labor. True love is not easy. Let the children hear. Always involve the children. Don't try to protect them for God's sake. They are the future of this understanding. Before we contaminate them with our neurotic notions, they know more about death than we do. But these days the younger ones are beginning to fear death earlier than ever. You can tell that this is happening when they retreat from someone who is dying or dead, instead of standing their ground with their natural innocence and curiosity. This is not necessarily your fault. The group neurosis infects the very young. Listen to the children's questions. Listen to their observations. But give them nothing that is not the fact, the truth. And always demonstrate the point you are making in life around you and in their own experience, not in their imagination. Don't ask them to believe in anything or to believe anything. The fact is that death is only a dead body. The truth is that life is everlasting. Neither needs belief. Take the children into the garden or the park. Show them death, dead bodies everywhere, dead leaves, dead insects, dead bees, dead birds, dead plants, dead trees. Then show them life. It is everywhere. Ask them, can you remember when you were dead? If the answer is no, you can say, that's because you've never been dead. There is no death, only dead bodies like these. If the answer is yes, you can say, if you can remember being dead, then you couldn't have been dead, could you? But I have not died yet. I'm only 3 or 4. No, and you never will. Only your body dies. Grandpa died. No, Grandpa's body died. If the child or adult should say, "But where do you go when you die?" you can say, "You go back to where you came from, the same as the leaves, the birds and the trees when they die." "But I came out of my mummy's tummy." No, you didn't. Your body came out of your mummy's tummy, just like the leaf came out of the tree out of the ground, and the bird out of the egg. You're not a body. Neither is the living beauty of the bird, the tree, or the leaf. You are life. You come out of your body like the beautiful living green on the leaf. Look, you're coming out of your body now, talking to me. Look how sweet and rosy you look. You don't look like that when you're dead. Neither does the dead leaf here, as you can see. A dead body like a dead leaf doesn't look alive, because the life that was in it, what you are now, has simply gone back to where it came from. Every night when you go to sleep, you go back into your body, don't you? When you're dying, all you do is just go further back inside your body, like the green and living beauty of this leaf went back while it was dying. Life that sings with joy in the bird, or that laughs and loves in your body, never dies. Look around you. Life goes on everywhere singing and being beautiful, because it knows there is no death. The death is only a dead body. Perhaps the child will then say, "But what if we're unhappy and crying? That's not beautiful." You might reply, "No, but people only cry and are unhappy because they don't know there is no death. Will you help me to show them, and help to make the world happier?" You are a player in the rigorous game of living. You can't blame the game if you don't believe the rules, or bother to remember them. The first rule of the game is, every player dies. None knows when it's coming. The youngest and the best often go first. Everyone has to play. The game goes on forever, or until you win. You win by finding death before it finds you. The prize is life. Now let me speak to those of you who have just lost the dearest person in your life, or who are still trying to cope with such heartbreak and loneliness. No one can know what you're going through until it happens to them. Nothing is so final, so utterly real as death. You have been sorely afflicted, and my love is with you, please know that. But you must get out of this. You must not let the pain kill or deaden a part of you, as it certainly will, if you get over it in time in the normal way, or if you carry it around unresolved inside you. There is a reason for the suffering death causes the living. It's to try to make you realize there is no death. People raised in the more simple cultures, who lived with their dead and buried their dead, understood this. They didn't suffer as you are suffering, and they had their wise men and women to instruct them in these matters. But all that has just about gone now with the dead bodies. You must use your pain. Don't try to get rid of it, and don't run from it. It will vanish and leave no scars immediately you face up to it by understanding it. And I am going to help you to do that. You'll notice that the pain comes in waves. For a time you are free of grief, and then suddenly it's upon you, and you're sobbing your heart out again. Without warning, you may find yourself weeping uncontrollably in public, or quickly having to leave a room of people to sob. Let me explain what is happening to you. When you love someone very much, you become attached to them. You do this by allowing an emotion of them, a sort of sensational replica of all your feelings for the person, to literally grow inside of you. Over the months or years, the emotion becomes a living part of you. It is as real and as sensitive in feeling as any physical part. Anything that happens to the other person, good or bad, is felt there. Through constant contact and thinking about them, you keep the emotion in you active and alive. When you are apart, the emotion makes you feel close to them, provided the separation is not too long. If it is, the emotion starts to ache for contact or news of them, and you feel lonely or depressed. When you do hear from them, the emotion in you is reassured and you feel better. Isn't this so? Please look for the truth of it in your own experience. When that loved one dies and you act as though that's the end of them, you cut off completely from the emotion, and it reacts violently. Remember, the emotion is a living, feeling part of you. You created it with your love. It is like your own child. And like a child, it is completely dependent on you for the flow of love and information you have given it for so long. To inform it, as you are doing now on the evidence of a dead body, that your love is dead, is as brutal as telling a child it is no longer loved. You are saying, it's all over. No more love for you ever again. My love is dead. Do you see what you are doing? You are abandoning this living, loving part of you, and the part is crying out, "But I am not dead. Please don't leave me like this. Please love me. Come back." That is the terrible ache and pain you feel, and it makes you cry. Try to observe the truth of this for yourself. Please don't dismiss it, and don't just believe me. After a few bouts of weeping, you will become momentarily aware that it's not really you crying. Your body is crying and you feel dreadful, but somehow it's not all you. You are strangely detached. If you have not had this experience yet, try to be aware next time the emotion rises. Be very still and see for yourself. Don't try to stop the weeping, though. Just observe it. Because no one talks about these things, when we do notice such odd goings-on in ourselves, we tend instantly to dismiss or ignore them. Even the suggestion at such a time that we are acting or being insincere is just too contradictory. But when you do see it, don't be disturbed. It is not you who's weeping. You have nothing to weep about. Your loved one lives. It's the emotion, the attachment you nurtured in you that feels deserted and unloved, which is making your body weep and sob. It's crying for your attention and your love, because you've turned your back on it. By going on the way you are, you're cutting yourself in half. You've got to learn to love yourself. You've got to heal that open wound down there and unite yourself. I'm going to tell you how to do it. In fact, we're already doing it. If you look closely at yourself now, you'll notice that you're feeling lighter, more healed. That's because your emotional hurt hears and takes new hope from my love, my understanding of its pain. And so you feel less divided, more whole. You have to do for your hurt what I am doing for it. Until you get stronger, we can do it together. Keep listening to this tape over and over until you get the idea. Here you should understand the difference between love and emotion. Your love of the one whose body has gone is constant. It doesn't vary, does it? But the emotional pain you feel is not constant. It comes and goes. It comes when you're not loving. That is, when you're living in the past. When you think of your loved one as being dead by imagining them as they used to be. This makes the emotion terribly unhappy, and it weeps, or rather, makes you weep. You'll notice this also happens when you keep returning to places you both knew, trying to make some kind of maudlin contact. Or when you leaf sadly through the photograph album. Or indulge in self-pity about how miserable your life is now without them. In other words, every time you behave as though your love is dead and gone. Such sentimental journeys torture the emotion in you. People often try to console us at these times by saying that at least we have our memories, as though memories were a compensation. Memories are what has passed, what is dead. Memories are the cause of all your pain, because they make you believe your love is dead, when your love is not dead, only their body is dead. Every time you think of your loved one, and naturally you think of them as a body that is dead, the emotion which is alive in you protests, and you suffer. Think, and the pain restarts. It's as simple as that. Look at it, please. This is terribly important. Test the truth of what I am saying in your own experience. As soon as you think about the person in the past tense, you get emotional. You must give up thinking that your love is dead. As soon as you do, the pain will stop. Now let us see how you can do this. The wonderful truth and starting point is that your loved one is not dead. That death is only a dead body. The being you love is present with you now. Ever since they died, they have been trying to tell you they are not dead. But they can't get through to you when the emotion is there. While you are not emotional, they are there. That's why you don't feel the pain of separation all the time. Why sometimes you know without a shadow of doubt that they are present. And why you can even chuckle and say out loud to them some intimacy or private joke you shared. They are aware of everything you do. But they are not possessive. They only want you to love and be happy. By mourning for your love and brooding on how good it used to be, by wishing that they were back, by wanting to tell them how dear they were to you and how much you miss them, by doing all that you are saying they are dead, in the grave. Whereas in truth, they are with you at this moment, a living presence if you can be still enough to register it. Every time you think of your loved one as dead, you cut yourself off from their presence. You choose what they were to what they are, and they can't reach you. Haven't you longed for just one more chance to love them more? Then this is it. Imagine yourself looking through a window into a sealed room and seeing the person you love most weeping over your photograph and kissing it. Wouldn't you say, "Why are you loving that thing? That's not I. I'm here. Love me as I am, our love, the real being, not that substitute for love. It's distracting you, coming between us." Love is not kissing. Love is not looking back like that. Love is not a memory. Love is now.